All right, listen up. This is a mentor log for all watchkeepers. What you're about to hear is based on the hard-won experience and technical guidance of Chief Engineer Daniel G. Talewaka from his work at chiefengineerlog.com. So pay close attention. This isn't about routine watchkeeping. This is about real engineering.
You know, some problems are loud. They come with alarms, bangs, or a spray of oil. You can't miss them. But a slow creeping rise in cooling water temperature, well, that's different. That's the quiet problem. It won't always give you an alarm right away. It just drifts. But for any good engineer, that slow drift is a massive red flag. It's a sign that the whole thermal balance of your plant is starting to slip away from you.
So we're going to walk through how a professional diagnoses this kind of mystery. We are going to move from pure guesswork to technical certainty. Here's our plan. First, we'll define the threat. Then we'll cover your immediate response, what you do in those first 5 minutes. After that, we'll break down the 4 pillars of failure, analyze trends, run through final checks, and wrap up with the most important tool you have, the professional mindset.
Let's be perfectly clear. A rising temperature is never just a number you log. It's a direct warning. It means the thermal balance of your engine room is moving away from its design conditions. The system is telling you, very clearly, that it can no longer get rid of heat as fast as the machinery is making it.
And when that balance is lost, the consequences cascade to the entire plant. As your cooling gets less efficient, the engine itself is put under more thermal stress. Metal temperatures in your liners and jackets climb, your lube oil temperature follows, and that hot oil gets thinner, reducing the safety margin that's protecting your bearings. All of this pushes you closer to a slowdown or a complete shutdown. And even if it doesn't, you're accelerating wear and tear every single minute. That's why even a small deviation demands your full, undivided attention.
So you see that temperature start to climb. Your first response, it has to be disciplined. This isn't the time to start randomly twisting valves or switching over pumps just to see what happens. Your first job is to gather information in a controlled way. Rushing in and changing things almost always makes the diagnosis harder.
So, picture this. You're on watch. The jacket water temperature is, say, 3, maybe 5 degrees higher than it should be for the current load. What's your very first move? Now, if your gut tells you to grab a wrench or start cracking a bypass valve, you need to fight that instinct. That's how you introduce new problems. You can trap air, you can upset the whole system, and you'll lose the trail. The professional response is calm and methodical.
This is your checklist. This is what you do first, every time. 1. Pinpoint the exact circuit. Is it the high temp or low temp system? 2. Is the rise happening slowly over an hour, or did it just jump up? 3. Check your delta T. Compare the inlet and outlet temperatures across the cooler. Is it actually doing its job? 4. Get up from your chair. Go compare the screen in the control room with the actual mechanical gauge on the pipe. Verify your data. 5. Check your pump pressures. And 6. Check the expansion tank level. You do all this before you touch a single thing. You gather the facts first.
Okay, once you've got that initial data, you need a way to think about the problem, a framework. The good news is, every single temperature rise can be traced back to one of 4 fundamental causes. We call these the 4 pillars of failure. Thinking this way keeps your troubleshooting logical. It stops you from chasing shadows.
And here they are. Pillar 1, not enough flow. That's a volume problem. Pillar 2, poor heat transfer. That's an exchange problem. Pillar 3, faulty control. That's a logic problem. And Pillar 4, false indication. That's a data problem. Your job is to systematically figure out which of these 4 pillars is shaking.
Let's talk about Pillar 1, not enough flow. This is simple, right? The water isn't moving fast enough to carry the heat away. Now, the pump motor might be running, but that tells you very little. The pump's internals could be worn out, you could have an airlock in the casing, the suction strainer could be choked, or a bypass valve could be leaking internally. Remember this, a running pump is not the same as a performing pump.
Next is Pillar 2, poor heat transfer. In this case, your flow might be perfectly fine, but the cooler itself is failing. On the seawater side, you're fighting a constant battle with marine growth and silt. On the freshwater side, if your chemical treatment isn't right, you'll get scaling. And even a paper-thin layer of oil from a tiny leak can act like an insulator, completely crippling the cooler's ability to transfer heat. The heat exchanger is often the silent culprit.
And this shows you exactly what's happening inside. On the left, you've got a healthy cooler. The channels are clean, wide, you have smooth, full flow. But on the right, it's fouled. The passages are choked. Flow becomes turbulent and it's drastically reduced. Your surface area for heat exchange is gone. Your pressures might even look okay, but the thermal performance has disappeared.
Pillar 3 is about faulty control. Here, your pumps might be strong, your coolers might be clean, but the brain of the system is making bad decisions. A three-way thermostatic valve that's stuck in bypass is just sending hot water right back to the engine instead of through the cooler. An actuator can send a signal to the control room saying it's open when it's physically jammed shut. These control failures are confusing because water is still moving. It's just going down the wrong path.
And finally, we have Pillar 4, the ghost in the machine. Honestly, this can be the most frustrating one. The engine is fine, the cooling system is fine, but a sensor is telling you there's a problem. Maybe the sensor itself is drifting out of calibration. Maybe there's a loose wire in a junction box. Before you start pulling a system apart, you have to prove that the problem is even real.
This brings us to a crucial point. The engine room rarely lies to you, but it often speaks in a language of trends. An engineer who takes the time to look at how the temperature rose over time is already halfway to the solution.
Now, before you assume something is broken, ask the most basic question of all. Is the machinery just making more heat? Did the load on the main engine just increase? Are we sailing out of the cold North Atlantic and into the Caribbean? A change in the environment or operation can cause temperatures to rise. It doesn't mean you ignore it, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle.
This is how you read the story that the trend is telling you. A slow, gradual rise over several weeks? That points to fouling, or maybe pump wear. A sudden spike immediately after maintenance? I'd bet money on air in the system or a valve that wasn't put back to its proper position. If the temperature only gets high when you're at full sea speed, but it's stable at lower loads, then your system's overall cooling margin is probably getting smaller. The trend tells you where to look.
So now we're at our final checks. Before you make the decision to open up a cooler or pull a pump apart, there are two last things to put to bed. You need to verify your sensors are telling the truth, and you need to hunt for that invisible culprit, trapped air.
Verifying a sensor isn't something you do from a chair. You get up, you walk over to the engine, you compare the number on the screen to the reading on the local physical thermometer. Then, you take out a handheld temperature gun and you shoot the pipe right next to the sensor. You check other sensors in the same system for consistency. If only one is reading high, your sensor is the prime suspect.
Air. It's one of the most underrated causes of cooling issues. It gets trapped in high points, creating pockets that block flow and kill heat transfer. The signs can be subtle. You might see temperatures that are jumping all over the place. You might hear strange gurgling noises from the pipework, or the pump might sound like it's full of gravel. If you've done any maintenance that involved draining the system, air needs to be at the top of your suspect list.
This all comes down to the most important point, your mindset. Look, a mystery temperature rise creates pressure. The chief will be on your back, the office might want to report, and in that situation, guesswork is very tempting. Somebody starts blaming the cooler, somebody else blames the pump, a valve gets tweaked, the temperature drops for an hour, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Until, of course, it comes back.
And this is the core of it all. The true discipline of our job is not just making a symptom go away. It is about proving the root cause. A real solution needs evidence. You have to be able to stand there and explain exactly what action you took and why it fixed the problem. The engine room respects engineers who have those answers.
Remember, on a ship, temperatures don't rise for no reason. It is your job to find that reason before it turns into a major failure. For more of this kind of in-depth technical guidance from Chief Engineer Teleowaka, go to chiefengineerlog.com. And to continue your own professional development, subscribe to this channel and like the video. Now stay sharp on your watch.